Hey, good morning, Tim.
Good morning. How are you?
Hey, doing great. Uh, how's the morning there in Albuquerque, the
Well,
city in New Mexico?
it's clear. Last week and up till Monday, it was chilly. It was 20 degrees to 10 degrees below normal. And we were having small, light showers every day, which is strange. It's not a monsoon. It was really fall showers, which we don't have here. Now it's back to regular fall, which is nice, except okay, so I'm about 16 hours from California if I were to drive straight through, right? If I
Hmm.
were to drive straight through to Nevada to Las Vegas, it would take me 9.5, 10 hours. It would take me 8.5 hours to drive to Denver. Every day we're having alerts on the television that says stay inside in Albuquerque, New Mexico because the smoke is too heavy for you.
Oh, oh.
Okay, that far away. I am three states, which is normally three European nations, you know,
Hmm.
away from California. The fires are so bad on the West Coast that the smoke is inundating around my
But how
city.
how uh, but how is the air quality there?
Poor. Like I said, they have most days. They're saying if you have any lung problems, if you're old, stay inside. And that's not a problem for us because we're still under lockdown. But at the same time, it's just another one of those minor stressors in the back of our minds that are pushing down. It's just another rock in my backpack that I'm carrying around. It's a reminder that life is crazy and nature is not something we can put a harness on. Nature is wild and nature has claws, and we must respect it.
Right, right. All right, we shall start the topic that we picked up for this show is the six reasons for burnouts and how we should avoid it. For the people who have joined in, my name is Kumar Pushpak and I head the team here at Idiona Services. And along with me, I have Tim Chiron, who is a project management uh, expert and consultant. He does a great job in terms of career counseling. And the reason I and Tim has picked up this topic because this is the time everybody has seen burnout. Various reasons could be the disease, the COVID, could be the pressure, internal, external, professional, personal, multiple. But yeah, everybody has actually faced it. So, Tim, would you like to give us an explanation or a definition of what does this mean? What is burnout when you call it?
Let me give you an image first. So you have to get to work, and it takes about an hour and a half to get to work, and you have to get to work in 45 minutes. So you're push, 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 push. You're in your car, you're in the freeway, and everybody's blocking your way. And you're trying to mentally, emotionally push your car forward. And that's what stress is. It's energy,
Mhm.
energy, 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 energy. Burnout is all of a sudden you're sitting on the side of the road without your car and you realize you've been staring at the same rock for 10 minutes. It's mental exhaustion. It's basically over um, exercising your energy in your mind, in your heart, and in your intuition to a point where your system shuts down. And that's what happens. And we all observe this. We all try to do too much. Number one, we try to please our parents when we're kids. Number two, we try to please our employers when we're employees. Number three, we try to please our families and our employees when we're executives. And 100% is good, 150% is better. And that's how we run our lives until we realize we're sitting on the side of the freeway with no car and we're staring at a rock for 5 or 10 minutes. Now, This leaves us something very interesting. It's not just the huge amount of stress. It's the low level stress. And let me give you a great image of
Hmm.
low level stress. Okay. Um, there was a famous author in Japan called Yukio Mishima, middle 20th century, 1940s, 1950s. He actually led a political movement inside Japan. The political movement was not nice. His poetry was wonderful. But he said something that stuck with me when I was 25 years old. He said, "In my life, I fight no dragons, just bubblegum on chairs and little spiders. I wish I had some dragons to fight." Now, bubblegum on chairs irritates you, spiders irritate you. If you have enough bubblegum and spiders, they add up. And that's what we were talking about today with that smoke. It's like adding yet another rock to your backpack, and another rock, and another rock. And that's what we have today. This is the year that there's one sentence you don't say. Okay. 2020 is the year that you do not say what else could possibly happen, right? We don't dare even think that,
You're
because
right.
it will. And that's what stress is. And then all of a sudden, what was front of mind today goes away and is replaced by something even more crazier, or something in addition. But those things in the back of our mind don't go away. They remain in our backpacks as rocks. They're little rocks, and a bunch of little rocks add up to big rocks. And the problem is, it shuts down our minds, our intellect, it shuts down our hearts, our emotions. But shutting down our emotions is not bad. It doesn't just do that, it shuts down the control of our emotions, and it shuts down our connections to our stomach, our intuition, and our moral compass. So all three of those things get disconnected. And that's where things go wrong. It's the disconnection plus the loss of your energy reserves that we call burnout.
Right. You spoke about you gave an example basically. A guy stuck in a traffic. Uh, so does it mean you sitting idle, you not moving or progressing in any aspects of life can actually lead to burnout? And tell
Oh,
me this, yeah,
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, and tell me this. The burnout is the result of stress, or stress is the result of burnouts? I mean, how these two correlates?
So let's take the second question first. First comes the stress, and then comes the burnout. Okay.
Hmm.
Stress is the overuse of the circuit. Burnout is the result of the overuse of the circuit. You have too much energy, and then you drop. Now, can you repeat the first question? I'm sorry. I,
Right.
I
No,
skipped a group.
basically wanted to. Hey, no problem. So I basically asked you this. You gave an example of a guy stuck in a traffic, right? So the burnouts basically is a result of the people not moving or not making any progress in their career or any aspects of life. Could be,
This,
is that a reason?
it's even better than that. You're partly right, but it's even the perception of lack of progress that can do it. Progress or not, if I think I'm not moving forward, that can be a stress. Stress is one side of the coin. Stress is energy. Stress can be called excitement, which gets me up in the day, right? And stress, when not released, can lead to anxiety. So we have excitement and anxiety, and we have stress in the middle. It's like the Buddha talking about the string on an instrument, right? Too loose, and it doesn't make a noise. Too tight, and there's the risk it may break. And the breaking of the string is burnout. So there's a gentle balance in the middle where we make music, and it's the energy. It's between that anxiety and that overarching excitement, the hypertension, the vigilance. This is what gets us in trouble. Now, we have to have that. Those are survival mechanisms, right? Hypervigilance is great. Number one, it keeps me alive when I'm a hunter in the jungle. Number two, it makes me the greatest salesman in the world. But if I'm hypervigilant constantly, my body starts falling apart. I cannot sit down. I cannot relax. My immune system starts attacking my own body. I have something called inflammation, and inflammation starts attacking my own body. I cannot sleep. And this is where it leads. The problem is we do need to move forward, and we're rewarded for moving forward, both emotionally and physiologically. But if we do too much of this, and if we sense that we're not moving forward even, the mind is a funny thing. Perception of lack of progress can even lead to negative stress, and that's where we get in trouble. And we'll talk more about this later on. There's ways we can actually inoculate ourselves against stress, and that's what we can do actually if you're worried about burnout. You can't, once you have burnout, you have it. And you're just going to have to, recharge. You're out of gasoline in your car, and you're just going to have to sit by the side of the road for a little bit. There's no choice.
Right. No, I personally liked one term that you coined out is a perception, right? So you perceive something, uh, may not or maybe it could be a reality, cannot be a reality, separate thing, but you perceive, and then that leads to your burnout. Uh, would you like to? I mean, there could be various and numerous uh, causes or reasons for burnouts, but would you like to highlight maybe 6 or 7 of them?
Yes. Um, Taking on too much. I talked to a manager who reports into a CEO, and they care too much, right? They take on the emotional issues of people around them. That's called empathy.
Mhm.
Now, could you imagine somebody like Gandhi or somebody like Mother Teresa walking through a village and taking on the emotional burdens of everybody? That would destroy them. There's something else called compassion. Compassion allows you to understand and support people through their trials, without taking on the burden of their emotions. It's not bad. And in fact, this is where executive officers, CEOs and CXOs have to learn. I cannot feel for my employees, but I have to feel with them. And so as an officer or as a leader in a company, often you can actually take on the emotional burdens of your friends, especially if they trigger your personal issues. Um, Losing, you have to release somebody. You have to give them a pink slip. Um, that's going to trigger something in your mind, in the back of your mind, that this could be me, and I
Mhm.
could be giving myself a pink slip too. Even if you don't consciously talk to yourself about this, it's going to be there. And so this connection to people has a negative side. It actually says, I have to do this. And again, in in the center of our hearts, we're children, and we think we have so much control over life. If I'm a good child, I'll get an extra cookie for dessert, right? And we think we have this magic that if I only behave, if I'm only good, things are going to happen. And things good will happen around me and with me, right? And that's a child's thinking. And as we grow up as adults, we realize life is chaos, life is confusion, and we have to learn that we're on a boat in an ocean, and the weather in the ocean does not respond to our wishful thinking. And so we have to transition to a different model of thinking and behaving as mature adults. You know, it's not that it's the hard facts of life. It's understanding, here's some things I can do things about. Here's some things I have no control over. And how do I balance this? And this is not something that you can do overnight. This is something you work on for years and you never get it quote unquote right. This is like brushing your teeth and doing daily exercises. It's thinking that life is not control. Life is rising above chaos. That's all that we can think about it. So we've talked about connection to people in a not so healthy way. We've thought about magical thinking and immature models. We've talked about perceptions. There's also a few other things we can think about too. Um, it's just quote unquote running out of gas. I was working on my master's degree and I was going to evening school and I was spending 6 hours every evening in class. I'd go home and I'd study till 2 in the morning. I'd get up at 6 in the morning. I'd say goodbye to my wife and my young children's. I'd go to work. I'd leave work at 5. Now, I did that for 2.5 years, and
Mhm.
it was just draining. And I was a zombie. I could not trust my decision making. My body was a wreck, and I couldn't even trust my intuition. I was so disconnected. I was in constant burnout. It's just the amount, the volume of effort that I was putting out. You may have a river beside you, but if you're trying to do too much with that river, it's not going to run. And it turns into little trickles, right? Or you're going to dam it up and it's going to block up. And so by trying to do too much. I constantly see articles out there saying enough. Enough
Mhm.
is a beautiful word. There's a point where you can say, I have done enough today. When people have issues with what they perceive as enough, I'm not doing enough. If I would have just done a little bit more, things would have come out all right. When they have problems with that, what I like to do is look at collecting data. And what data can you demonstrate to yourself every day that you've done something and you've taken 6 inches towards your objective? And that's the problem. We're so hardwired for progress. And
Right.
many of the things that we work on are years in the making. And we can't measure progress like we measure a foot race or measure gasoline in a car. Our progress has to be measured in different ways. And so looking in the mirror and saying, did I do my good work today, is a little more complicated than what we would think about. Those are generally the areas, and this is a high level discussion. There are more specifics we can get into.
Right. Uh, do you think a lack of social support can actually lead to burnouts?
Yes, Yes. As a man in Western civilization, I'm a manly man. There's something we say down here in the United States. You have to be tough to live in the West. You have to be able to be your own person. You have to bring yourself up by your own bootstraps. And if I don't do that, I'm looked upon as quote unquote a little bit weaker. Um, the problem is, um, without social connection, it's funny because we've done a lot of research here in the United States on biology, and actually there is some interaction between plants that share dirt. When the
Mhm.
roots start connecting, they actually start talking to each other. And you and I may have even talked about this. It's really strange that, number one, we know that plants that actually intertwine their roots are stronger against storms. And number two, not only do they share nutrition, but they share information. And this is incredibly powerful. We forget this as human beings. It's not that this is anything magical. This is just natural. By again, by getting it, there's another part of this too. It's not just falling apart in front of somebody and bearing your dirty laundry. By bringing something up and laying it out on the table, if you have total trust of somebody, you actually discover that this problem came from your head, and your head is smaller than you. And so this problem is smaller than you. Problems and issues come from our minds. Okay.
Right.
Now, there are things we do not have control over. Our issues and our perceptions, we do. We don't have control over the weather. We don't have control over climate or volcanoes or politics or all the other issues that we're dealing today. But there are things we can deal with. And by identifying them, collecting the data, and measuring progress in managing them, we can demonstrate ourselves that we can actually, move forward a little bit. If not that, we can at least keep ourselves moving forward for just another day, just one more step. And for some days, for me, just knowing that I can make one more step is all I need.
True. So, just to summarize what you just mentioned, the reasons for burnouts, number one is taking on too much. Second, empathy. Third, lack of control on what you're doing exactly. Fourth is lack of social support. And
Hmm.
fifth, work life imbalance, which I
Yeah.
want to pick up that as well. And then the sixth one you mentioned about the perception. Uh, now,
Let's talk about work life balance because that's interesting.
mhm,
The funny thing is, work life balance used to be easy. My work life balance used to be 8 to 5. I work. The end. There we go. My
mhm,
life is balanced, right? No, not now. I've been working from home since 2000, end of 2012. And there is no work life balance. There's weaving of
mhm.
my life and my business and my personal progress. That's the key. We think that we're stealing energy from one aspect of our life. And this is how I thought it worked when I was going to graduate school. I have my life with my family, my personal life. I have my school and my work. And if I can keep one ball in the air and two balls in my hands, I'll be safe. But when you're juggling, if you juggle too long, you're going to drop a ball. And if you drop one ball, all the balls fall on the ground. And that's our burnout. Okay. It's not juggling. Work life balance is not juggling. It's actually taking three reeds, right? A piece of a long leaf of a plant, and taking three of them and weaving them together in such a way that they become stronger as a whole. And now we have a bowl that we can carry a lot of weight in. So when I'm having problems in my work, I can use my family and my personal progress to actually shore up my business. And when I'm having problems with my family, I can use my business energy and I can use my personal progress energy and use the other two. And this is the key. It takes a little bit of proactive planning. It takes a little bit of thought to apply. But again, we're talking about perception. We talked a couple times in the last few weeks. We've talked about flipping that coin. The coin has a dark side and a bright side. And perception, if it's dark, we can always look on the other side of the coin and it brings that gift. And that's what I'm talking here. Yes, work-life balance is very tricky. But the thing is, we can actually switch our minds and decide it's not juggling three balls in the air. It's actually using these three threads to weave a very strong carpet together.
Yeah, I mean, work-life balance. I think me, and everybody need to have boundaries in terms of what is profession and what is personal. But what I have actually got a feedback talking to my colleagues and my friends is basically, even though when they tried to create a balance in their work and life, uh, it's their employer, it's their bosses, managers who actually didn't help them.
I hate to tell you this, but actually that's not the issue. It really isn't. Okay. Marcus Aurelius, right? One of my heroes, the greatest, one of the five greatest emperors of Rome, said that this is one of the hardest things he ever worked on. It's
Mhm.
actually finding this balance of how do I care? How do I care enough? How do I not care? I can teach my family to shut that door, right? I can teach my family that when I'm doing the show and I have my curtain up here, nobody disturbs me. And they'll listen to me. That voice in my head won't listen to me. That's where the problem is. The work-life balance is not outside you. It's you and your personal discipline that actually do this. And we're never, ever, ever going to get it right. I'm not going to get it right. You're not going to get it right. Nobody's going to get it right. This is something that we say balance. Do you ever stop balancing a bicycle when you're riding? No, you never do you? You're right
Right.
on the edge of falling to one side or the other. And that's what work-life balance is. It's discipline. You never finish brushing your teeth. You never finish exercising. You never get balance right. You overcompensate constantly and you check yourself. That's the best we can do. And we can actually do that for ourselves and the people around us. We don't have to tell on each other. We don't have to put each other down. But what we can do is create an environment where we can actually say, hey, I'm not doing well. How can you help me get this work done so it's not a burden to you, but I can actually take care of myself? That's the key. You can't give responsibility and accountability for this balance away. You have to own it. If you don't own it, then you're like a ship without a rudder on an ocean in a storm, and your sails are ripped. You're going to be
Right.
buffeted by life. Yeah. So
Right.
that's
We
go ahead.
talked
Go
about
ahead.
this. Yeah, no, sorry. So we talked about the reason, the causes out there. What's your solution, Tim? How on top of this topic we can actually get rid of it?
Well, let's go back to how do I even know if I have burnout? Okay. There's a simple check. Okay. Head, heart, stomach, right?
Hmm.
It's your mind, your intellect, your emotions, and your intuition and your moral compass. And what you can do is when you realize that you've been sitting and staring at nothing for 10 or 15 minutes, you do a check. Okay, how's my decision making? Am I rational? Number two, my emotions. Am I jumpy? Am I jumpy because I need to eat? Did I forget to eat? Oops. Am I leaving my routines? And so you're basically looking at all your instrument panel of your body and your mind and your heart, right? Am I actually making immoral decisions? Am I going against my intuition? And these are the things you can do to say, uh-oh, something's not working. And this
Hmm.
is where we can say, okay, is it not working because I have something that I'm focused on and that's all I'm focused on? Or am I working through a generalized issue? And when I talk about generalized issue, that's where you're out of gas and you're burnt out. Okay. And this is that causal analysis, root cause analysis, trend analysis, variance analysis that you can do just in managing your life and managing, what you're doing. It takes a little bit of practice, but we're going to be in our bodies for another 20 years, and it only takes about 2 years to learn how to do this well. But honestly, that's actually how you figure out whether you're burnt out or not. You can also use your friends. You can also use your family. You can also use your business partners and reach out to them and connect to them. And they'll tell you if they've been around you for 6 to 8 weeks, and if you're different, and if you're checked out, and if you give them permission to tell you that that you're checked out, they can be a really good measurement too. Now, what can we do about burnout?
Hmm.
We can walk to the gas station with our gas can and get more gas. Okay, and while we're walking to the gas station, we can do things that recharge us emotionally. Count the number of wildflowers that we're passing by. Smell the smells that are in the wind. I'm in the desert, and you think that the desert is dead and arid and nothing. But when I walk through the desert, it has thousands of smells, from the creosote that smells like train tracks to the wildflowers that smell anything like lemon to jalamansi, dirty socks, and it's
Uh-huh.
it's amazing. It's amazing how alive and vibrant it is. Connecting to life is another way we can recharge. We can actually, like a superhero, like some superhero who puts their hand to the earth and sucks energy up. We literally do that. So going for walks and connecting back to the nature is one way. Connecting to music, connecting to art, giving ourselves permission to indulge a little bit, not too much, but a little bit.
Hmm.
I'm not talking about eating a bag of Cheetos. What I'm talking about is consciously making a nice cup of tea, getting out one favorite cookie, and spending about 15 minutes really enjoying it. This is an art. And if you do it well, it really does recharge you. It's what we call Epicureanism. Epicureanism used to be a philosophy like
Right.
Stoicism. It's not embraced so much. You think that an Epicurean, and if you read about it, you say they overindulge. No, what they do is they isolate everything else and they say, this is good, this is beautiful, this is wonderful, and let me appreciate it. And it's that appreciation of nature, art, music, all of these things. And it could be in meditation, it could be in dance, it could be in exercise, any of these things that you can actually focus on. And that's what I want to start talking about. Okay, there's really four things, and they're four superpowers that we're going to be talking about here in about 10 minutes. And one of them is focus. It's giving yourself permission to bring everything down into one area so you're in the moment with that, whether it's a scoop of ice cream or a perfect cup of coffee or the perfect conversation. Time stops. And when time stops, you know you're focusing. Okay. And too much energy is when you are hyper vigilant and hyper aware. Not enough energy is when you don't have any reserves, and that's when you're burnt out. And when you can actually slow time down, that's when your body and your
Mhm.
mind can actually recover of themselves. And that's what we have to do. We have to wait for the car to recover before we can go on our way. That's one of them. There's other things we can do. Mark Corbin talked about that, right? Regular normal sleep and appreciating good sleep. Waking up with a sharp mind is beautiful. Connecting with people. We talked about that with the trees. Exercise and diet regularly. It's not just a good exercise. It's not just a good diet, but it's having regularity. Imagine this. I
Can
talk
I
about
stop
go.
you for? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I just wanted to pick up the word that you just discussed, and before it goes out of my mind. So you talked about a good sleep, right? Now, let me tell you, many of my colleagues, they work in shift, right? I mean, what is a good sleep? Generally, it's a 7 to 8 hours sleep which you catch in the night, right? But people who work in shifts, who actually work late nights, uh, how they can actually have a good and proper sleep?
So, do you want the mechanics or you want the theory? You're looking at somebody who did it wrong for about 30 years and figured out how it worked for them. Okay. So, let me talk to you about why we need sleep. It'll take 3 minutes. And then we'll talk about how to get the sleep you need. Okay.
Mhm.
Sleep shakes your head up and reorganizes everything so you can actually be more functional the next day. It does other magical things, but without actually allowing your body to sleep, it won't function the way it does when you're not there. Okay? Stress actually keeps you from that low level sleep that you need for your body to repair itself and to reorganize your emotions. Um, what you need to do is obey the rules of how your body approaches sleep. Your body approaches sleep in a very mechanical manner if you watch it. It actually loses control. And when you've lost control, enough control of your body actually disconnects your nervous system so that you can't consciously flail around in your sleep. And we've all had this sense when we wake up the next morning.
Mhm.
There's a sense that you can't move, right? That's your body still having control of your body before you wake up, and it keeps us from hurting ourselves and others. So you have to approach this sleep in a very careful manner. Number one, if you're having a lot of stress or even low level stress, you have to lower your energy level. That's one of the things you have to do. And it's not just physical energy, it's intellectual energy and it's emotional energy. And there's ways to do it. A really good way to release energy is to, number one, tell your body that it's going to have enough oxygen because your body's going to take over your breathing. Breathing is funny because it's an autonomic system. it actually acts on its own, but you can actually take control over it, and you can actually breathe or stop your breathing. Your body doesn't like this, but the transition between you and your body, you can actually give your body permission by actually learning how to breathe and release energy. You can breathe in one way, you can build energy, right? You can also breathe in another way, you can release energy. And the releasing of energy is really funny. It's very mechanical. You can actually inhale for 7 seconds, hold that with your whole lungs full, and then 3 more seconds, push more air into your lungs, hold that for 3 seconds, and then for 11 seconds release it. And if you do that, and if you focus on that, you're going to feel a little bit different. And that's actually going to be a sensation that you have less energy that you're expending. Now, if you do that before you go to bed or as you're trying to go to sleep, all of a sudden you feel like your big muscles are you're relaxing. And you can actually assist in that.
True.
You
Okay.
don't push your muscles to relax. You release them to relax. It's not commanding. It's giving permission and letting go. And if you practice that, you can sleep. I had to learn this when I was 26 to 28, when I was going through school and working. And giving your body permission to take over itself and learning how to relax worked for me. There are other methods out there, and they're similar. But the mechanics of it, if you understand the mechanics, you can take advantage of those mechanics and work with your body instead of against it. This is the trick. You don't tell your body that it has to go to sleep. That's like telling a kid. You give it permission, and you create rituals. It's this regularity that actually really helps you. Do it on a regular basis, and then you're going to find that all of a sudden that tipping point to sleep. Now, there's something else I do. Before I go to sleep, I always say I'm going to wake up at 6 o'clock. I have the expectation that I will wake up when the alarm clock wakes up, whether I have 3 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep, or 8 hours of sleep. I will wake up, and that expectation will establish it. Do that for 4 or 5 years. It does take time, again, and document your results. That helped me. Track your progress, and then play with this. And my solution isn't the only solution. It was one solution, but it worked. That imagery worked really well for me.
Okay. Great. Great. Now, I stopped you in between. So you were talking about the ways, right? So one, I'm just trying to summarize it for the viewers out there. So one is having a good sleep. Second, having a good social connect. And what else? Just a one-liner. I'll just type it for the people out there.
Exercise and diet regularly. Good
Exercise.
exercise. Yeah, exercise and diet. Get the
You
body
need
to
to.
flow. Yeah,
Do you need to?
you got to get the body flowing, and you got to get the blood flowing. Yeah, taking ownership of your body.
Do you
You know,
really gym
taking.
for that, or you can do it at home?
I have my gym right behind me. I there are times when I have 3 hours where I'm not teaching or in front of my computer. So every 20 minutes, if when I find myself losing focus, I go back behind myself. I am adamant. I'm 60 years old next year. So my exercise is more in balance and stretching. I'm not so interested in big bulky muscles anymore. I'm interested in being 85 and 90 years old and still being able to function the way I am today. And so my exercise is more like yoga, and it's more like planks where I can actually sustain my big muscles in attention longer. And that seems to work really well with me. And that may change in the next 5 years. But yeah, I don't go to a gym. I did go to a gym when
Right.
I was 35 to 50. And that was great. But when I was working from home, it just didn't function well, you know. So I created a set of exercises that take me about 45 minutes to an hour and a half every day, and I do them in 10-minute blocks, and I make sure that I do all of them throughout the day, and that gets me out of my chair, that gets me away from the work, and it allows me to have those little tiny rechargeable moments throughout. And I do the same thing with my diet. I engineered my diet. I know I need this, 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 and this. And I know this, 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 and this. And I know when my body says, Tim, you're not on track here. And I've also observed my body changes. My metabolism changes over the year and over my life. And so right now, I'm moving away from meat and towards more vegetables. I'm maintaining my protein. I'm keeping my carbohydrates at a moderate level, and my vegetable and fruit I get to play with as much as I want. It's not because I have a reason. It's because my body is telling me. This is a partnership that I have with my life, and my body is my best partner. It tells me when I'm doing wrong with my diet if I listen to it. If you learn to
Right.
listen to your body, it'll tell you. There's one more too that we need to talk about. Connecting with your purpose. If you have a reason to get out of the chair, if you have a reason to exercise, if you have a reason to eat well, and like I said, the
Be
threads
creative.
that weave into a carpet, if one of these threads is your family, if your family is a reason to get out of your chair, use it. Use it like crazy. If self-respect, if giving myself 3 extra hours on Friday night to play a video game is a purpose, use it. Okay, you'll find more purposes, and you'll find quote unquote better purposes. But for just motivation, if you just have any purpose to start off with, no matter how selfish, this is what I recommend. I talk to people who've lost their jobs all the time, and I talk to people in transition. And purpose is one of the critical things that has to be there. Has to be a reason why. There has to be a reason why. And the search for purpose, I believe, should be the focus of our lives.
True. Tell me this, since you are drinking, I think coffee. Is it coffee? Okay,
No,
caffeine.
actually, it's hot water this morning.
Oh, hot
Yeah.
water. Okay. Uh, People, and I myself actually, I have actually seen myself getting into kitchen and preparing a coffee or a tea whenever I am in a stress. I mean, let me put it that way. Whenever I think uh, there is too much on my head, I usually get into a kitchen or I ask my wife to get me a cup of coffee or tea. This intake of caffeine, how is this related? Should we actually increase the intake or should we decrease it? Is it good for health? What is it?
Caffeine replaces natural chemicals and neurotransmitters in our body. Okay, we have to respect that. It's overtaking things our body normally does. Okay,
Hmm?
that being said, it's like everything else. It's neither bad nor good. It's how we use it. Now, let me give you an image. Okay, doctors say if you have if a cup of coffee is 8 ounces, Let's say if you have 4 to 6 cups of coffee, it's not going to over um, over excite your body, okay? And it won't cause those things that upset your stomach or get in the way of your thinking. So again, this is generally across the whole population of the planet. And we're not just talking about coffee. We're talking about everything that's caffeinated. Okay. Now, the ritual of making tea or making coffee or making a sandwich or slicing an apple or slicing celery, making something that is worthy of your attention can actually re-energize you. And this is what I found. I don't drink coffee anymore for the energy that the coffee may give me. I drink coffee to go into the kitchen to actually put my burdens aside and add to my energy reserves. Number one, I'm telling myself, I deserve it. I need to step away. I'm important. It's not the work I'm doing. I cannot sacrifice my well-being for my work. Number two, I'm doing something that actually says, it's like burning incense to yourself. It's like sweeping off your own um, little temple. It's respecting yourself.
Hmm.
And that's the beautiful thing. Making of the coffee can actually be a ceremony that's wonderful. So, in a lot of ways, um, again, it has a negative side. It has that dark side of the coin where it replaces the mechanisms of your body. But at the same time, if you manage it well, you can actually use it to not just, give yourself a chemical um, hyper energy, but you can actually use it to replenish your mind and your emotion and your intuition.
Right. I would like to draw your attention to a different area altogether, Tim. Uh, Phones, mobile phones, technology gadgets. Do you think these stuffs are adding, I mean, doing good to us or doing bad to us? What's your take?
I just turned my phone off. I was multitasking, and that means 50% of my attention was on my phone and 50% of my attention was on you. That means I'm 50% as effective in this conversation, and I'm 50% as effective on the phone. Anything that engages you in multitasking is going to decrease your capacity to perform. Anything. Now, the other
Are you
side that
saying
we,
multitask?
excuse me,
Sorry, are you saying that the multitasking is not good?
that's right. That's right. We know this. We know this. When you're young, you think you're powerful when you
People
multitask.
who
And
are
when you get
listening
older,
us.
huh?
No, I was
Excuse me?
just saying. I was just talking to my viewers out there, saying that please do not. I mean, listen, you multitasking is not good. Is actually not good, and I totally agree with you. The phones, every time that rings, gives me a different sense of feel inside once it rings. So I get so impatient. I get so impatient.
And this is the problem. This
Yeah.
is the other problem. It's not just the multitasking, but phones and all of this social interaction that we have, the consumer environment that we've created around purchasing, generating income, and engaging in distracting activities, advertising, marketing, all of these things actually are architected to trigger neurotransmitters in our brain to give us happy feelings. If you win a certain level at a video game, it triggers something in your mind and you want to win, 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 win more. You get a like on Facebook or LinkedIn or on a forum, it triggers you to want to do more, 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 more. We can't do anything about this. This is the way our minds work. We can't get away from it. And the problem is phones are devious because they're an extension of the internet that's right beside us and never turned off. That if you want to take control of your life, start with your mechanical communication devices. And that way you determine when you engage and you determine when you focus and you isolate. This is the rule that you find when you're a creative, when you work from home, when you're doing gigs. If you don't control your focus and your attention, you're not going to make money. And phones do this very well. They create those beeps and bongs and boings, as Simon Sinek calls them, that call to our physiological behavior. We're talking about stuff that's like OxyContin that works in your brain, and so it's not just a distraction. This is an addiction. When we get to that, and addiction can come in many forms.
Sure. Addiction, good and
Yeah.
bad.
I,
So,
well, distraction. Yeah, we need distraction because distraction allows us to set aside our stresses. But again, it's like the Buddha and the string. Too much distraction and too little distraction is too tense. It's somewhere in the middle. If you have control over your distractions, it's great. It's when your distractions have control over you, you get in trouble.
all right, awesome. We are 60 minutes to complete. Wonderful discussion
Wow.
out there. Yep, I just summarized the discussion main points in the terms of the causes and the cure of potential burnouts. So I have just summarized and then passed it on the chat window
Oh,
for you.
that's great.
Yeah. So, uh, I mean, it's very, very important in this special time. You need to keep abreast and you need to keep yourself healthy, both mentally and physically. Because yeah, I mean, you rightly said. Somebody says what can be predicted in 2020. Wow, it's out of the question now. I mean,
Yeah.
you just can't imagine, and it can happen. It all happening actually. Uh,
And we have to prepare for the unknown, which means we have to prepare to turn 180 degrees tomorrow. So having those extra reserves is not just a nice to have anymore, it's a requirement. And as leaders of people, as CEOs or business owners or executives, we have to have our personal reserves and we have to create an environment that allows other people to create their own reserves and maintain them, or we're going to burn out our staff. And that's very easy to do. And so we have to, as executives also, we have to be very cognizant and very, very not structured in our time, but very protective of our time. And that's tough balance.
right. I mean, there are multiple forces which will try to tear you apart. It's you and only you who can actually take care of yourself. It's well said that prevention is better than cure, and that it's true. You should avoid any stress, any burnouts that's happening in before
And
you need to go to and see a doctor. No, it's not a good idea.
yeah, and again, you can actually look for the triggers, and it's all has to do with stress. And you can also recover from it. It's not the end of the story. It's just going, it's walking 10 or 15 miles to get extra gasoline and enjoying the flowers along the way. That's what you're going to do. And once you're there, being honest with yourself actually gives you permission to do it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tim. And for the people out there, if you want us to make similar discussions more vital, it's very, very important that you come up with your questions, with your ideas. What do you actually want to hear from us? We would love to actually do a presentation on that. We shall do that. Uh, People also should actually go ahead and follow us on YouTube, or like our page on Jonah Academy Compliance Key, or Jonah Services. I mean, that's the best way where you can be certain that any videos or any shows that we're doing it is not missed, and we would love for that. So thank you once again for everybody out there, and especially Tim for joining in this morning. I see the sunlight coming in through the window directly on your face. It's just started. I wish you a very bright and sunny and a great day ahead. And rest all. Please keep yourself away from phone, caffeine, take good sleep, exercise.
And
Very, very
respect yourself as well as others. Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you, Kumar, and thanks everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Cheers.